Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to give my apologies to the organizers and all of you. I have hijacked a little bit the program, and this is only possible when you are a minister. And I took advantage of this power that we have and being able to jump into the program and being able to present my own agenda. But I thought that it was very important to do that. I was not supposed to be presenting this presentation here, but I was being given green light by Malabo, also being given green light by the APO. This is the Association of Producers of Oil, Petroleum Producers of Africa, that before we do our possible signing for the study of this project, to being able to, at this forum, give you, what's the best way they call it, like in the movies, it's a tease. It's actually to present you something to get you so excited that you want to hear more about them. So, to start, I said something yesterday that I do believe that is very important. I mean, for many years, what us as minister has been doing the talk. We talk about being responsible for our resources. We talk about what we want to do for our people, but very few times we do the work. And I have to say that maybe it's because of my America background, training background, that one of the things that I like about my brothers of the US is when you have a problem, you don't just brag about the problem, you don't just look at the problem, but you think about the solution. And that's something that I always have admired of my brother and sister of the US. And we have been talking all this time about what to do regarding what we call the energy transition. Now, you all have here that, what's the policy? 2030. Many developing countries are working. So in 2030, they will not need any more our oil and gas. So the question will be, if we decide that we don't want to drop it, what are we going to be doing with our oil and gas? Europe said they don't want to use it. America, they have other resources. Asians will change too. So the only market that we'll have remaining, it will be our own market. So rather than talk about private investors, create the market and do the different things, we decided that maybe we should start encouraging and presenting and giving ideas and think how to do it. So the objective, like I said before, is eradicating the energy poverty. This is the biggest problem that we all have. We keep talking about we want to create jobs. We keep talking about we want to give our children opportunity. But one of our biggest frustrations that I have when I see the protests in Europe, when I see the protests in the state, children screaming, fossil fuel, you are bad, you are doing all these things. I tell them the same thing. Why don't you come to Africa? Be with us for 2 weeks. Understand what it is to be without electricity. Understand what it is to pay very high electricity. Understand what it is to walk all the way to your school. Understand what it is that your father also have to work. Understand that you have to go to a water well to get the water because you don't have energy. And then after 2 weeks, and you come back, I can guarantee you, those children in Switzerland, in Germany, they will say, I think our priorities are different. Yes, we want the climate. We all want to save the climate. But also we want to live better. And we will need that energy to be able to do it. So if we do not have the essential energy, we don't want to just breathe very clean air in the dark. We want to be able to do what they did. What did the United States, China, Germany, everybody did? They created a policy to have energy security because they knew that when you have energy security, you can actually be able to develop. So what we need to do, and we are doing in Africa, is that we need to create an energy security that it will allow us that the poverty, this energy poverty, actually can disappear. And this is why we do believe that this resource can change for us. Now, a lot of people will ask, so what are you planning to do? This is what we are planning to do. Now, what we plan to do is actually think what we can do so by 2030, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, Namibia, Senegal can say, okay, let's just make sure that all our resources come to Africa. And to do that, we need to have the market. I'll give you a very good example. Equatorial Guinea have for many years, more than 15, 20 years, an LNG plant. We cannot deliver one single cargo of LNG cargo, to no African countries. Why? Because the way our infrastructure was designed is for big VLCCs that take the LNG from Equatorial Guinea all the way to Korea, to the United States, and to Europe. But there is no one single terminal in Africa that can actually receive LNG from Equatorial Guinea. My brother from South Africa said they have problem with electricity. And we know, Excellency, that you have LNG. Can you deliver LNG? He said, where is your terminal? They don't have terminals. Morocco have a big industry. They have been trying to do the problem with the terminal. Ghana also are doing this. They are thinking. So again, all of that are having the same problem. They have the market, but not terminal. And then we have a huge industry that people need to remember. This energy transition, the key factor that you need is to be able to capture energy and storage it. And how do you capture energy and storage? With batteries. And where are the minerals to be able to get that? It's in our continent. And if we already have the minerals, and they are in Burkina Faso, in DRC, it will be sad that they extract all these minerals, and then they send it to Dubai, transform in Dubai or in Japan, and then they do the battery there. So then, of course, they made in Japan, made in the United States, made in China. But where is the resource coming from? So again, if we are able to get the energy that is necessary to transform those minerals, then all the jobs will be in Africa. So the objective of this will be to create areas where we can transport, we can storage, we can distribute, and create hubs. And the best example is, what's the Netherlands? What's Rotterdam? They don't have oil, they don't have field of oil, they don't have drilling rigs, but they're full of storage. But you see Spain say that they buy crude from Holland, from Rotterdam. You have Malaysia say they're buying from Rotterdam. Everybody's buying from Rotterdam. But the funny thing is that in Rotterdam, there is storage, but it's oil from Equatorial Guinea, from Nigeria, from different places. So the strategy of Europe is that you have two key places, Rotterdam and northern France. They receive all the products and then distribute. So the only thing we need to do is not rocket science, is to do the same thing, and then do it, is create hubs. And the objective of that hubs is to boost the development. Boost the development. We are talking about, we are here, and unfortunately I haven't said hi to her, Excellency Amina from Morocco, that everybody knows that Morocco have one of the biggest reserve. And what do you need to be able to do the fertilizer? Gas. Now we are thinking about doing a pipeline from Nigeria all the way to Morocco. But if you deliver gas to Morocco, Morocco will not need to import all that, and we have reliability of supply. Not every year they buy on different prices. So the hubs are going to be very important to do that. Now, why the hubs? And now I'm not talking about entire Africa. I'm talking about my region. This is Central Africa. This is what we have regarding, Central Africa. Now you have a country like Cameroon. You have 54% of the population have no access to electricity. You have right now installed 1,400 megawatt and 25 million population. You have Congo, Brazzaville, with 5 million. They have an installed capacity of 600 megawatt plant, and 1/3 of the population have problem to access of electricity. You have Chad, with 15 million, capacity installed of 340 megawatt. But at the same time, with the same problem that they have. And of course, You have Central Africa, 4 million, at the same time, with a capacity of 46 megawatt. Equatorial Guinea, we are there too. 1,200,000 population with an installed capacity of 200 megawatts. So we all have the same issues. And the issue is the problem regarding electricity. So I mentioned this before, and this is clearly what we are talking about, the creation of hubs. Now, these hubs is with a clear intention to be able to create all those transportation, storage, distribution, that every single one of those countries can actually be able to benefit, not only for electricity. This is for industries and at the same time for any other. So people will say, but Excellency, how are you going to do that? Sorry, going back. I'm sorry, they cut the presentation. So I was going to explain. But again, how you do that? Very simple. You do it creating terminals in all those countries in Central Africa. Unfortunately, you don't see the map. You go from Kribi in Cameroon, Bata in Equatorial Guinea, Port Gentil or Libreville, Port Noir, Luanda. All of them hubs. And what do you have in a hub, in a port? You have terminals. When you have terminals, you can receive oil, you can receive gas, you can receive LNG. And the only thing that you need to do is not just think about your own market, but think how you connect all those hubs so they can actually distribute and be able to provide to the landlocked countries. And by doing that, what you do, if you can receive and you have a terminal with LNG, where do you make the money with the gas? By burning the gas, not by selling the gas. You receive the gas, you build the power plants in the hubs, and from there you export electricity. Electricity that can be exported to DRC, electricity can be exported to Central Africa, to the rest. So you have a hub. The same thing, why all our refineries never work, because we design a refinery for our own market. But if you do a refinery that have installation pipelines, that I can produce in Equatorial Guinea 1 million or 200, and then I can send it to Gabon when they need it, or DRC, because this is where they have the population. So immediately, all our refineries will be able to be profitable. But if we keep thinking only our own market, we will never be profitable. So people will say, but Excellency, you are dreaming. What are you planning? How are you planning to do this? It's not dreaming, it's not rocket science. This is what the Europe are doing. If you look, these are all the interconnection in Europe. These are pipelines. In the north, you see the Rotterdam. And in the south, you see south of France. That's where all the cargoes go. Oil, gas, methanol, petrochemics. And what they do, they distribute through their pipelines. And then in the middle, those are storage. So that's why when you go to Africa, I have been here in Dakar, the only thing you see more trucks than cars. Trucks, you're in fuel. You go to Equatorial Guinea, the same thing, from Bata to Mongomo. You go to Libreville, the same thing. You go to Nigeria, the same thing. Then you ask, how come in Africa is the only place that you see trucks going through the highway? Because the pipeline system have not been developed. But in Europe you go, and maybe you see 1 or 2 trucks. Why? Because they have a pipeline system that they distribute, and it goes all the way to their storage. So you see Vienna, Austria. You don't see trucks, but they have a storage. So that's clearly a strategic alliance. Now, in Africa, we try to do something similar. And I have to commend both Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and that was the West African pipeline. But the problem with the West African pipeline, it was only for gas. If you just do a pipeline just for gas, that's not really solving the problem. You need to do a pipeline for gas, oil, chemicals, different things all that. And then you don't just think about the cost. The countries who need more those resources are the long countries that actually have the minerals. Just imagine doing a pipeline, West African pipeline that went all the way to Burkina Faso or to Mali. Then I can guarantee you they will pay it all the money, and definitely that gas will be paid. But at those moments, it was done only for the cost. Now, of course, this is what I said. A lot of those hubs need to be able to develop. And people will say, but Excellency, that's a lot of money. How are you going to do this? Governments do the science. Investors are the ones who go to the hubs. If an investor like Siemens or Wärtsilä knows that you go to a specific hub, you will receive the feed of gas, feed of oil, and at the same time you have a system to buy electricity, the only thing the investor is doing is investing on the plant. That's why the way it's done in Asia, this is how it's done in Europe, so we have to do the same thing. The hub is clearly a mechanism for them to be able to do the investment, and then from there is put into the grid that can, in a way, benefit everybody. So people will say, well, Excellency, and what's the plan? How are you planning to do that? I have the great advantage, being a minister for many years, and knowing so many countries, that I have a kitchen door, that's the best way to call it, to many countries in our region. So I was able to go to the kitchen of President Obiang, that's very easy, in Equatorial Guinea. And then I went to the kitchen of Cameroon, and I also met President Biya. And I went to kitchen of Congo Brazzaville, and I met President Sassou Nguesso. And I went to the kitchen of Angola, so I met the President Lorenzo. And I went to the kitchen of DRC, and also I met the President Chikikali. And all of them, I presented this same presentation. And all of them said the same thing. Minister Gabriel, we love this project. This really is going to solve for our problems. Go work with our ministers and make sure that we have a plan so we can present this. And this is what we are signing next week. Apple is going to lead this initiative. It's not the government who is going to pay funds, but it's just a plan. And all those governments are already, in principle, in agreement to do that. And how to start? Doing it this way. Those are the hubs. You have from Cameroon, probably a Kribi port. They have a new port that you do a distribution network that went all the way to, of course, Yaoundé, that's the capital, and then go north all the way to Chad, N'Djamena. And at the same time, from Yaoundé goes all the way to Central Africa. You have another network that, of course, in Equatorial Guinea, that connect Bata, and Bata goes all the way to Gabon, connecting to the possible also storage in Gabon. And it can go all the way to, depending on the need, all the way to Port Noir. This is where the Port Noir that connect, of course, to Brazza. And then Brazza, next to Brazza is, in this case, Kinshasa. But at the same time, you go all the way south. You go to Luanda, where they already have a refinery, where you have a system that actually can go all the way from Luanda to where all the batteries or the resources of the batteries are in DRC. Of course, this is not done all at the same time. They are network, and the network will be done according to the need and the capability of each one of the country, or of course the investments. But what it will allow to happen is that investors who want to actually concentrate and being able to invest, they won't have to invest in the entire infrastructure. Why? Because this is the way that is done in Europe, in other places. You have institutions like Exim Bank of China, Exim Bank of the United States, Exim Bank India, and you tell them you finance the entire infrastructure, and we'll guarantee you that the investors will actually be able to pay with the agreement that this is a regional project. This is not a project of Equatorial Guinea, not a project of Gabon. It's a regional project that actually is going to be able, in a way, to make sure that it can last any government changes. And that's one of the problems that a lot of people are afraid. But also create a problem, because you will be able to deliver products to any of those hubs, and those hubs can send it to different, depending on the market, in this case, need. But of course, how you coordinate and you make sure that this is done correctly. And again, this is again another illustration. In Douala, there will be more details how we do it. And this is just an animation on how to do it. This is the Cameroon, the first one. Like I said, from Kribi all the way to Yaoundé, bumping stations. People who know about pipeline, they know how this works. And again, they have some engineering company in the state and also in Cameroon who are working on that. Then you have the other one, of course, Bata, Gabon. From there, you have Congo, Brazzaville. And again, all of this is subject to where are the mines. Because what all the mining company wants is the one power. So if they know that they don't have to buy diesel, transport the diesel, so you take it where the mining is. So of course, these are hubs again, and the receiving. And of course, this is the other ones it's all depending on the need. This is from Angola all the way to Congo, DRC. So the question is how we can do this. And we can do this by a collaboration to understand that this is not just an Equatorial Guinea project, this is a regional project. So the same thing that we have a central bank of BEAC who is in charge of all our monitoring, we need to create an entity. And this is the Central Africa pipeline system. And that entity actually has 3 other entities. The one in charge of building the pipelines, the one in charge of building power plants, and the one in charge of refining. This is not just oil, refining. Because refining, you are not just talking about refining oil. You refine gas, you refine other products. So that's definitely the advantage that those projects in this case. Again, this is a project for 11 members, countries that I can guarantee you 90% of them that already have given green light. Next week, APO, Equatorial Guinea, and the CABEF, the organizer of the event, we will sign our memorandum for the African Exim Bank to be able to finance the study. Because once you have a full study, that's when it's much easier to be able to present to different investors. So again, this is as much as I can spill the beans. I fought through our collaborator of Africa Energy Chamber, from the rest, to have this opportunity to be able to give a little taste of what we are doing in Central Africa. And I can guarantee you that in 2030, if they tell me that, Minister Gabriel, we don't want your oil or the gas from Europe, from America, I can guarantee you that I'll tell them that I don't care because I have another market where I can send it that is closer to mine. So with that, I want to thank you for disturbing the program. And this is a little bit that I want to present. Thank you. I don't know if the organizer, because they said that I had an opportunity for, if somebody has some questions. Do I have questions? Have time or? Okay. Yeah, they said that I have 5 minutes. If anybody have any question or any issue, 10 minutes? Okay. No, 5 minutos, you know, I'm finished. Go ahead.
Okay, allume-le. Mademoiselle les hôtesses, est-ce que vous pouvez venir, s'il vous plaît, passer le micro dans la salle?
Your Excellency Gabriel, first of all, I would like to applaud this initiative. My name is Severino Asumo, by the way. And this is an excellent initiative. Not only that, as you said, that it will resolve. We will create a market for these products, but also I think this is an opportunity for countries to work together. Because until today, countries are working individually. And I take my hat off for the effort that you have initiated to have all these governments to sign up for this project. And I believe, as you just said, that the study will probably prove that it's going to be more than feasible. So my question is, what is your time frame that you have for this wonderful, brilliant initiative? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Mr. Severino. The time frame is 2030. This is what I have been saying to all the governments. Do not believe that you have all the time that you want. By 2030, this entire infrastructure needs to be done. Because the only reason that we have a delay of this energy transition is because of the conflicts, Russia, Ukraine. This is a distraction. But when they fix that, then they will go into a policy. So what are we going to do in 2030 when Senegal, Equatorial Guinea have additional FPSO? We are not going to be able to have it. So it's very important that we all understand that we only have from now to 2030. Because the batteries, they will still be needed. And what we cannot do is allow that our mineral leave the continent to be processed other places. So those companies who are, for example, in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi, they are processing there because the electricity is very cheap. It's not because it's a good place to go. It's a cheap electricity. But if they know anybody who is processing mines in DRC, Burkina Faso, they know that I don't need to get a ship to have the products. I'll just take it to the port. In the port, there will probably be a company who can process because they have cheap electricity. We do it. So the time frame is 2030. And we are doing the study. We are aiding to make sure that the study is done on time. Africa Exim Bank is on board. They already have confirmed. I'm traveling Sunday to Cairo. I'll be with them Monday and Tuesday. They already have confirmed that they will fund the entire study. Because once we have the study, it's much easier. It will be depending on the different investors interested to be there. And of course, the countries also agreeing that they will be able to allocate X amount of products to make sure that each one of them are fit with that. But 2030 is our limit. Any African countries that by 2030 have not place to provide their oil and their gas, they will be stuck with a lot of oil in the ship and not knowing where to take it.
First of all, I would like to thank you for this really inspiring view that you have about where the continent is going. It's really interesting to see that we want to actually combine different kind of countries and different skills. So the one question that I had on my mind is if we want to have this established by 2030, we see around the world a lack of skilled people around it. And how we are trying to propose, how do you think we're going to actually overcome that in this kind of project? And how can we make sure that we have the right skills, the right resources, the amount of people, and the labor market is there to actually establish this kind of a huge mega project?
Building pipelines, collecting pipeline, putting pipeline together is not rocket science. We are talking about only Central Africa is 6,400 kilometers of pipelines. And this is only one area. This is Central Africa. If you have other areas like MSGBC, I think it's called this area, South Africa, each one of them doing, at the end you will be a connection. So the issue here is not just to create something to provide to market. The other issue that is very important is the job creating. Because what do you do with that? This is the best opportunity to be able to benefit local content. Because if you have, for example, in Equatorial Guinea starting a pipeline, it's normal. You bring a company from Russia, from the United States, from India, and then they do the first tranche, 100 kilometers. But what do you do next to it? You put another local company. So by the time you do the next 200 kilometers, you cannot just say that that company is going to be doing it. And then you switch it. This is the same thing that they did the Petronas Tower. The first Petronas Tower was done by the Japanese, jointly with the Malaysians. But the second Petronas Tower was done by the Malaysians. So the idea is that the more pipelines you do, the more it's something that the local company can do. It creates a lot of jobs. And I have to say one thing very important, that even though my brothers in DRC are being criticized regarding tapping their resource in DRC, Colombia is doing it. Russia is doing it. You are not destroying the entire forest. You do the pipeline, you do environmental study, and you don't affect it. But by doing that, you create jobs, but also you change the life of those people. So I think this will be the great, because just imagine the number of local jobs that will be created in the different hubs and the landlocked countries. Because our biggest problem in Africa, everybody wants to go to the coast, because that's where all the jobs are. But if you have a pipeline, then you create an industrial zone wherever you want. So I think clearly this will be a game changer. This is like the Middle Eastern have done it. This is like America have done it. And this is like China have done it. And again, Africa, rather than independent country, if we do it together, we can do it, and it will create jobs that a lot of our youth are asking for, unlimited, because this is not just pipeline for gas, for oil, chemicals, and even virtual pipeline. So we don't, everybody's talking about liquefying LNG. Yeah, you do that because you want to transport it, but if you don't need to liquefy it, you just send the gas. It's even cheaper. And that's it. So you are doing just liquefy LNG because you want to through ships. But if you have a fuel, you just put it into the system and you go. So with that, I think I have spoken enough. I'm seeing the face of the Secretary General of Apple telling me, Excellency, shut up, you're talking too much. That's supposed to be for next week. But I want to thank you for your attention. I want to give also my thanks to the Secretary General of Apple for the support that he's giving. But the objective of this is not just to do Central Africa. Each one of the regions will have something like this, and then in the future, it won't be just one area, but it will be all African connected by pipeline, like you have seen the picture in Europe. So with that, I thank for that, and I apologize for taking time.